No, I just don't want to embarrass myself.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Right now we have about 24 students in our Zoom with us. For those who would like to ask question, you can click Mentimeter in our chat to ask question along the way, and I will ask them at the end of the session. But before so without further ado, I would like you to um, give a round of applause for คุณ Arunitan นะครับ from Deloitte to be our speaker today. Yay! This is like a podcast recording. Anyhow, okay. Let's start with an introduction. Could you please tell us about yourself, your background? I mean, yourself, your current position and responsibility. Yes.
Yeah, as mentioned, my name is Aruni Tan. My current position is now a manager at Deloitte. Um, there are many entities of Deloitte, but just know that I come from one entity. My responsibility is I think it can be generally divided into three parts. The first one is the engagement execution, or you can call it project. We call it engagements. It will be focused on the sustainability, either planning, approach development, time controlling, reviewing, monitor and control the financial status of the engagement. I mean, if that engagement is working too far, we have been charging expenditures too much, then we have to control it. So, and the other part, it would be the client management. The second one is the proposal development. So once we have an opportunity, we develop the proposal, including the working approach, development, pitch, and all support all the required documents. And the third part is to take care of the team member. I mean, we have to also look after the skill or the performance, their growth, their well-being, including approving kind of leave applications. Yeah, so yeah, that's I think it's the major part, yeah, of the responsibility.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit more. How many members are in your team right now? I mean, how big is your team
We
that you are managing?
have it should be 12
Okay, about 10 to 12.
now. Yeah.
Okay. So that is your role right now. But yeah, as far as I know you, you have been working in this field for quite a long time, and you are not from economics, no? So
No,
can you tell us about your like educational background and your career journey before you come to this position?
I graduated in bachelor degree in environmental science. Um, do I have to say this? The institute too?
Yeah, sure.
From SIIT as a bachelor, and I got my master degree from University of Stuttgart. As the, the course is very long name, so it's kind of air pollution, water pollution, water management, and waste management program kind of thing, but we call it shortly waste program. So yeah, it's generally kind of the course that teaches you how to manage the pollution and waste in general. Mm.
So that's
As a
your
first,
educational background. Yeah.
yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, but then you also work in other places before Deloitte, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As a first job, I started my work in Western Digital, which is a hard disk drive manufacturer. It's a big company with at that time almost 30,000 employees. So in Thailand, and there are some more in Malaysia at that time. But yeah, now I started as an SQE, supplier quality engineer in terms of environmental product compliance. At that time, we had ROHS. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It's about restriction of hazardous substances. So in electronic and electrical industry, there are some prohibited substances such as lead, mercury, heavy metals, and some of the fire retarding substances, which are carcinogenic, which cause cancers. So it's prohibited in the product. So we manage the suppliers to check, to monitor for us. This is why I was in with SQE.
So you were taking care of like somehow sustainability standard of the product, right?
No, I wouldn't say it's a sustainability standard, but it's just
like
yeah,
requirement.
you just don't let these substances to be in your product. And Western Digital, what they do is just assembly it. There is no further chemical or any quality change in the chemical terms in the product. So we can just physically assembly. So that's why we have to manage all the suppliers to make sure that there is no prohibited substance, because in EU and countries at that time, they actually tested the components. They sampled and tested.
And for how long?
Once you have
for how long you worked there?
For 2.5 years, because the job was so yeah. And but at the very last month of mine, there was an EICC standards launched in Western Digital. EICC is Electronic Industry Code of Conduct, but it was rebranded afterwards to RBA, Responsible Business Alliance or something, because this is the starting point of what I've learned about sustainability, but there is no sustainability term at that time. So for EICC, there are 5 pillars. There are ethics, there are environment, safety, labor, and product. I'm not sure the elements now, but there are 5 pillars that considers about the social part, which is labor, and the environmental part too. So it's somehow sustainability already. And by EICC, it is cascaded through the supply chain. So every member has to ensure that their suppliers are the member of EICC, which means that they have to comply with the guideline. Yeah, so that comes the requirements and the suppliers audit, which I luckily was a part of it. So yeah, that's how it started. But after that, as I mentioned, that it was quite boring. And so I switched to EIA job, environmental impact assessment, for a very short time, 6 months, and I went. I left to get a master degree. But after the master degree, I rejoined Western Digital as EHS officer, which is the environmental health and safety. Yeah, and from then I've learned about the ISO, both 9001, 18, OHSAS 18001, which is for safety, and ISO 14001. They're not combined into 45001 at that time, but you can see it's very long time ago. And at that time I learned about the management system. We executed quite strongly. Yeah, and at that time, we also launched BCM, yeah, because it's right after the flood of the major flood in Thailand. So yeah, the BCM and BCP was launched at that time too.
I see. So actually, your work involve a lot of like standards and guidelines that control the quality of the products. Actually, before we have this class, in the past two class, we were, I mean, I assigned the students to survey, I mean, to do a presentation and focus on like the standards and guidelines on sustainability for each economic sector. So I think what you mentioned also emphasize the importance of um, the guidelines and then these standards. I mean, in the real world, these are the things that we work with, like in
Yeah,
sustainability, right? Okay.
yes, you need it. I mean, you need to apply like either standards or guidelines. Anyway, it may not be 100% compliant, but you need something as a principle anyway. So yeah.
I see. And then,
Otherwise, you get questioned by the client, where did you get this from?
mhm,
It's the easiest way to develop the approach.
yeah, it's like doing a research and then review literature and then yeah, I'm taking this principle from that author,
Mm.
so don't question me. Anyway,
Mm.
so then what where did you go afterwards? You went to
Yeah.
ERM
Then
after?
after, yeah, I went to ERM as a consultant.
In
I started for
can you tell the name, the full name of the
ERM
company?
Siam.
Yeah. I mean, ERM is like it's not an acronym, right? It's the full name, ERM.
Oh, I think it's rebranded. The full name is actually Environmental Resource Management,
Oh,
but for now, it's not only an environmental anymore.
okay.
In Thailand, it was quite famous for, EIA reports and at that time. I
Okay.
mean, before when I was a first jobber, I applied to EIM as a for EIA service. Um, but they adapted and expanded the services to sustainability part, and now they are quite famous for it. And yeah, um, yeah, I've started in ERM as a compliance and assurance team
Mm.
member. Uh, when what I had to do was regulatory registration, like you list out what regulations the clients has to follow, they are applicable to, and list out the actions that are needed,
Mm.
what reports has to be submitted to what organization, yeah, that kind of thing, or third party environmental audit. So you go to the plants, seeing what they do, again, comparing the law or their client standards or any standards. So this is the other service, and or EDD, due diligence.
Mhm.
So we have environmental due diligence too. So I'm not sure if they're familiar with the due diligence process.
Can you elaborate a little bit
Okay,
more? Yeah.
so for merger and acquisition process, when a company wants to acquire another company or any entity, they need to know how um, how the entity that they're acquiring is doing. So they want to know the status. They want to know, I mean, the financial status, the technical status, if their plants are operating well, or if the legal status is good. I mean, they don't have any pending um, legal court issue.
Mm.
Yeah. This also may include environmental term. So we go through the plant, maybe mostly plants, like factories, checking if there is any pending environmental issues. For example, soil contamination,
Mhm.
or um, or either soil or under groundwater contamination, or we go to the wastewater treatment plant or at the air pollution facility, checking if the capacity is matching with their input capacity, input influent quantity.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what environmental due diligence do. And then the client would consider if they want to if they still want to acquire that entity.
So when we talk about due diligence, it means that uh we become like proactive in trying to like prevent environmental impact, something like that.
I would say it's more like liability risk
Hmm.
prevention.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you find if there is land contamination or any anything that is still with the entity while you already acquire it, then the liability is transferred to you too.
Mm. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
this is how this is how it works. And after EDD, I just want to spin off something about the DD because it's now EHS or ESGDD already. So yeah, it's
ESGDD.
expanded as
Okay.
well. Yeah, ESGDD.
ESG due diligence.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you do at ERM, right?
Mm.
But I think you work at ERM quite a long time, right?
That was a very beginning part. After a year,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I I I I was assigned for more of the sustainability services, beginning with the sustainability reporting,
Mm-hmm.
DJSI ratings, materiality assessment, and then other than that would be the transition services. So I would explain later how the sustainability services are divided too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I was assigned to for the sustainability part in ERM.
Okay. So you work there for quite a long time at ERM.
Not very long, but the longest in my life, yes. Um, 4.5 year.
Yeah. And then you move
Mm,
to other
a
company,
corporate,
a
yeah.
bigger one.
Nope, a
No.
corporate, a smaller one because I have a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, because yeah, then I thought I wouldn't have so much time to work. So I decided to move to a corporate, which is solar developer,
Mm-hmm.
solar energy developer. So what they do is they find a customer, um, us make a contract of the power generation. So the service is to sell the power, and after a certain period of time, sorry, the that facility would be transferred to the customer. I would give an example. For example, if I find you as customer, Pichon, I want to sell you the power, right? So what I would tell you is that I can from your area.
Mm-hmm.
So I calculate it by area, right? Because it's solar energy. With your area, we can install this amount of solar panel in your rooftop or floating at either or ground mount. There, yeah, solar
Mm-hmm.
PV. I can install it. We will take care of how it operates. We can monitor it from afar. We can service for maintenance. We sell you the power, you pay the power cost. And after period of time, for example, 10 years, these facility will be transferred to you. That's the way it works. And yeah, what I did at that time was kind of supporting ESA, environmental safety assessment. Yeah, because the power generator would need to have kind of license, right? And one of them license, one of the document requires to assess or analyze if your project has any environmental impact or safety impact. This is to support, and I also look after the ESG performances of the company as well, because it was shared. That one of the shareholders was, I don't remember if it's a bank or investor. They required, because they applied IFC performance standards, and one of that standard requires someone to look after the ESG part. So yeah, this is a job creation. So they needed to hire someone to really take care of it.
Okay, so this is a little bit different from your consultancy work, right? So this is a part you become a part in a company, in a corporate that take care of the environmental issues and the ESG. Yeah. So is it more specific than the consultancy work?
It is more specific, and the working style is totally different when you don't have time to the most I think the most of the time that I spent was to gain collaborations, to gain cooperations from the team, because this is not kind of revenue generation unit. So there's no way you can convince them to collect data, to reduce this and that, to invest. And all you get is the cooperation, and you got kind of, that findings that they had it during the IFC assessment to be the driver for your work.
Okay, I think that position is quite similar to what I am now at Thammasat. I'm the assistant to the director on quality development and sustainability, and I think I'm in the same position that I need to build collaboration with other departments, because it's already a burden for them to send me the data. So it's quite lucky that the director was quite serious about the ranking. So it becomes a bit easier when the top management see the importance of the issue.
And I
Okay.
would say as a consultant, I try to emphasize that everything that ESG has to push should be integrated as a KPI or performance evaluation of other teams as well, because it's actually, there's nothing that ESG team can do if it's not interested.
That's true. Okay, so you work for the company, and then where?
Back to consulting. Yeah, I was I joined KPMG before, yeah, as sustainability consultant too, in manager level. I think that the responsibility would be the same as what I mentioned earlier. Then at that time, what we did was kind of, apart from the reporting, I did some assurance work as well, the ESG data assurance.
And can you explain a bit, well, what is actually the assurance work in this field?
Okay. Normally when you read, I don't know if there would be anybody reading the one report or annual report if they're not investors.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would start from annual report, or it's renamed to one report from SET, right? Annual report. For annual report, you have financial statement
Mhm.
that's being audited by auditors, which includes Big Four. It's the same thing as what sustainability report are doing, because what reported in what disclosed in the sustainability report, sometimes ideally, I would say, it should be assured or checked by third party,
Mhm.
and that party would issue assurance statement. It's quite similar, but there are some details that it's different, including the indicators that we go through for a financial report. The indicators are mostly, whatever relating the financial performance, right?
Mhm.
But for ESG, it depends. If your indicator is ESG, we would check how you got these kind of figures.
Mhm.
Do you have a process? Do you have an evidence? What is the flow of data? Is it reliable? No, is it, if
Does it make
if it's
sense?
reliable. So yeah, does it make sense? And if it does, then we issue assurance statement.
Mm.
So at the end of the corporates, I would say most of the huge corporates, I would say set 50, would have assurance statement at the end of their sustainability report.
Mhm.
Mm.
All of the issues, or only some of the issues are assured?
Most of the indicators, it depends if they I think the factors that drive their assurance would be the rating score.
Ah.
But in general, they would try to get the most indicators to be mentioned in the statement anyway, but it depends also if they are ready or not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they feel that it's not, they're not ready,
Mhm.
they don't think that they'll get the statement. But this kind of indicators, they think there'll be gaps, or there might be miscalculation or evidence collection. They wouldn't ask for those indicators.
Mhm.
Mm.
So that's what you do at KPMG.
Yep. And that would be including the kind of ESG assessment too, but I cannot go through about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're at Deloitte, right? So
Yes.
after KPMG, you come to Deloitte.
Mm.
This is your which year? Your
Third.
third year.
Mm.
Okay. So so you already talked about your current responsibility. So if we talk about your experiences, which is quite long. I mean, even though Kun Aruni would look very young, but she's only like 1 year younger than me. Yeah, but from her experience, I think could you give us some insights about like the overall picture of the career in sustainability consultant? I mean, if you conceptualize your experience, what is the scope of work in terms of sustainability consultant? I mean, what do we do? I mean,
Okay,
you talk
I would
about,
divide it into
yeah.
I would divide the service into two.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the overview of the sustainability um, activities, for example, sustainability reporting or disclosure, ratings, supports, materiality assessment, or strategy development. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing would be the transition services, where you
Mm.
help the client in a specific area.
Mm.
For example, policy development, so that they have a policy, specific strategy, for example, climate strategy, supply chain strategy, or you have a procedure development. Further than the strategy, you develop the SOP for them.
Mm-hmm.
And training or data management. You teach them, you develop data collection template or tool and teach them how they can use it and how it can be disclosed or analyzed and also on. And the other part would be the assurance.
So this is still about the transition service.
I would say some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you cannot be transitioned if you're not sure if the data is correct,
Okay.
it's reliable. So um, some some of the consultants may be categorizing the assurance to be the overall because it doesn't it doesn't specify which area exactly that they're assuring. But assurance also been used in kind of capacity improvement of the employee too. When the assurer asks them telling the findings, along the assurance process, the employees would also know what the gap that they have to improve to. So it's kind of it can be used in most of them, both of the areas.
Okay. So overview and the transition service. Okay.
Mm.
I mean, me personally, I'm more familiar with the overview type of service, but the transition service is actually very interesting.
Which is more I think yes, interesting and more enjoyable if I would
Yeah. In what way?
yeah
What do you mean by enjoyable? I mean,
because you see the
challenging?
value out of it. You see the value. You see the tangible. Can I say that tangible um, output?
Mm-hmm.
You expect it to be done, um, improved somehow because for the overview service, it's about disclosure. It's about the high level advisory, and it cannot be. It's not telling anything that the client is, for sure they're doing. But for transition is something that you think for them,
Mm-hmm.
advise them, or even ask them to do, yeah, to adapt. So it would be more specific to topics, for example, human rights, climate, risk management, supply chain management. Yeah, you name it.
So that is where the change can happen, right? The
Mm,
transition service, the change can
yeah,
happen.
it's
It
it's
might not
not that.
happen, but yeah.
Yeah, but, I think it's more possibility that the change happens in this area because I wouldn't say that overview service would not change anything because the rating is one of the key driver
Yeah,
in
true.
Thailand.
Very true.
Yeah,
For all
so
kinds of organizations in Thailand, rating is somehow very
uh,
powerful in driving change.
which personally I don't agree with that driving force, but yeah, so it is what it is. So by the overview service, the consultants can get to know the client better.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
then we know what gap they have. Then we know what product to sell. Then we know, you know, yeah, it's the starting point of the opportunity.
I see, I see. That's a good insight. I mean, but from listening to you, it seems like doing the consultancy work in sustainability requires not only the technical knowledge about the environment, but it seems to require many other skills. Can you tell us what kind of skills are needed in sustainability consultant, and if economic students can also do this kind of work?
I have one economist, which is a very great colleague, which was a very great colleague of mine. She just left a month ago, which is really unfortunate. Anyway, so my first response would be yes, the economists or economic graduate students can work definitely in this field. What you asked about the skills, right?
Yeah, what kind
Okay,
of
the skills
skills
that I
and even
mentioned here
knowledge,
is
yeah,
not
needed?
that it doesn't mean that I have all these, but I think it's what needed for consultancy services. At first, I think you have to have analytical and critical thinking skill.
Mhm.
I would say first for soft skills, because
Soft
the
skill.
technical skill would be very yeah, anyway. Okay, soft skill first, critical and analytical skill,
Mhm.
adaptation, because you have a various kind of service. You have various kind of clients, either size, industry, or their maturity in the sustainability field.
Mm.
Mm. And I think one thing is client management.
Client
It does,
management.
it's not it doesn't mean that if you're not in the senior level, then you need a client management. Because when I was a junior
Mhm.
in ERM, I got requested by the client for some off-scope works, and that you have to manage too.
What do you mean by client management? Is it about chit-chatting with the clients, or it's
No,
more like
it's
how are we
about
balancing
yes,
relationship and the task?
it's about to manage that. I think the primary one is to manage their expectation.
Mhm.
Because when you try to sell stuff, what you talk may alter their expectation.
Mhm.
And when the engagement is executed, in reality, some of the inputs may not be sufficient.
Mhm.
Then you have to also manage the client in the way that the engagement or the result or the output may not meet their expectation.
Mhm.
Or for example, if we say, yeah, we can develop you some, if we can improve your procedure, but at the end, after the contract is signed, maybe they don't have initial procedure for you to to improve. So this is how you have to manage.
So it's more like expectation management in a way, but not but
That
not but
too.
not only that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
not only that.
Mm. So it seems like a working skill, right? Soft skill, thinking skill, adaptation.
Mm,
And how important is the technical skill? I mean, your knowledge about waste management and environmental science, how big that play parts in your work?
I think it it played a great deal of out of mind, because I used my experience a lot
Mhm.
when I deal with the corporates. I got advantage of knowing how the management system works
Mhm.
in reality. I know how the compliance work in reality. I know how quality, each function in the factory or a corporate work. So that's why I got to I got to gain some trust from the client.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you I would say that would be the 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 practice part,
Mm-hmm.
which is not exactly a technical knowledge. It's something that you have to learn in how corporates work in nature anyway. But in the other way, the real technical, for example, human rights principle,
Mm-hmm.
waste management, pollution treatment, climate,
Mm-hmm.
GHG accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a starter, I I would recommend that you have one focus area,
Mm-hmm.
and then because you have to learn all of them anyway.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you should know it deeply. Maybe some of them, right?
Mm,
But not all. I mean, I don't think anyone
no,
can know deeply in all fields of sustainability.
no.
Yeah. Okay. So that is about the skills, no? So
Um,
perhaps the economists can also join the field, even, but maybe we need to also acquire some
one more
technical
thing
skill. Yeah.
about the technical skill is I think if you're interested in the consultancy, what you have to bear in mind is that you have to learn all the time
Mm-hmm.
because sustainability is, even though it's not a old term, it's considered new and still I think, and it's evolving continuously.
Yeah.
Last year's requirement or term may not be the same as this year or next 4 or 5 years anymore. It doesn't work that way. It's not it's not a rigid principle.
Mm-hmm.
It Yeah, it's still evolving. So you still have to learn everything. GRI may be new years ago, but for now there are some more and will be more. Yeah.
Okay. I I I think I also need to update those kind of things as well. I mean, lately I've been working with the as a project that we interview you earlier with the SME standards and everything. So yeah, I also noticed that the dynamic, I mean the evolution of the standards and guidelines are so continuous and I think somehow more intense because like the EU and some other countries are also uh, being being more serious about how to make things more sustainable. So talk about that kind of evolution. Um, it seems like the trend. I mean, many students join our class because they also perceive that there are trends in the ESG and sustainability, So they join this class. But can you also comment on that kind of trend? I mean, the trend on sustainability, ESG in private sector, now compared to like 5 years ago, how different is it? And what would be your opinion on like the next 5 years about this trend?
5 years ago, you started from globally or domestic?
Anyhow you would like, anyhow you like to
Okay,
say.
start from the past. I think um, there are drivers for sustainability. Anyway, of course there are, and for global, I think the the key driving force is the climate situation now,
Mhm.
and that is, I think the climate is somehow lead us to raise sustainability awareness. So in the past it may be kind of the top up from what a company has to do. For example, quality, financial performance that they have to do anyway. But sustainability is a top up out of that. Um, Another thing is in the past, the driving force is the rating.
Mhm.
And I would say too that it was it has been claimed before that it's a trade war somehow, but yeah. And I think 5 years ago we talked a lot about the renewable energy.
Mm-hmm. And now?
And now I think I would say that we focus more apart from the renewable energy. It's affordable, accessible renewable energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just mentioned now that it's a top up, right? But in the future, it will be the norm,
Mm-hmm.
and it's either norm or be backlashed. So you have to action about it. If you don't, you get backlashed.
What about Thai situation? What do Thai companies aware of this? And is there an increasing trend to
ยัง
adopt?
ไม่หมด
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. I think about above the ratings, there are some the raising of investment, sustainable investments trend in globally, I think, and for transition, I think they are more focused on the decarbonization or biodiversity topics.
Mm. Yeah, I noticed that biodiversity become an emerging trend, no? When we talk about sustainability, but in Thailand, I think people still complaining that it's difficult to understand,
Because we don't
difficult.
have data.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
I think we're running out of time. So okay, for Thailand, I okay, I think for Thailand the different driving force it is kind of pushed by the regulations
Mhm.
and international supply chain. So through the international buyers, they force their sellers to comply with their code of conduct or kind of criteria. So it's combined into this above quality criteria somehow. So this is how Thai companies are adapting. So in the past, I would say it's for compliance. So you do the safety parts, occupational safety for compliance. You do environmental management for compliance. You do human rights for labor compliance, or the stakeholder part for compliance. But now, no, apart from compliance, the huge corporates would do it for ratings, right? In the past, and I think in the for the future, it's more of the regulatory requirement because it's becoming more and more stringent. There is some you've heard about IFRS
Mhm.
sustainability.
Yes.
Yeah. That part would play a huge role in pushing the companies to action more on the sustainability side. Assurance, internal control, budget allocation, maybe. Yeah, a lot of activity would be changed. And also, apart from the ratings, here comes the sustainability finance and investing. Because I think you've heard about the taxonomy of BOT.
Yes, the green
Yes,
taxonomy of the Bank of Thailand.
yeah. So this is how they are driving the banks to um, be a key pusher for sustainability too. But it starts from we know that it starts from the climate part, but later on I presume that it would be extended to sustainability. And the point. Yeah, from what opportunity we got lately, I think more companies would would look for transition service.
Mm.
Mm. Depending on the risk. So there are climate risks, there are supply chain risks, there are, pollution, stakeholder, you name it. So it depends on the risk they have. And that one you have transition services. And one regulations, I think, has been drafted for a while, Sustainable Packaging Act,
Oh, really? Oh. Mm.
but it's still in a draft I think for a year or two already. But yeah, I think that's an interesting act to go through because it would concern on the circular economy
Mhm.
as well,
Mm.
and it will be bad. And human rights issue because we have demographic change a lot. So I think human rights issues would be re-emerge.
It's like how we work with like laborers, immigrant laborers,
Mhm.
those kind of things. Mm.
Mm. And risk of greenwashing, this applies to all global and local
Yeah.
context. Yeah. Because I would emphasize that you require them to disclose. They can write whatever they want to.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's self-reporting, no?
Mm.
Most of the time. Okay. So am I interrupting you again? Okay. So we have one question from the student นะครับ I also posted in the chat. What do you think about carbon tax and carbon market? Can you elaborate more about the topic? And does Thailand applying this policy? And I would like to add that is the company that you somehow work with along the way interested in this kind of scheme? Is it become more popular among the private
There
sector?
have been questions,
Mhm.
but according to the act, it is included in the Climate Act already. They mention about the carbon tax
Mhm.
And the carbon market. They are mentioned. So I think it would be applied in Thailand, but the scheme is not sure settled.
Okay. So there are some uncertainty about how it would be actually implemented.
Mm. I mean, it will be implemented, but how and who by who
Mhm.
is not settled.
Oh, so with this unclear detail, so the firm are
Mm.
still like hesitant. I mean, they're still
Yeah,
waiting
there are
for the
some
clearer.
officials update. I mean, there are some unofficial updates, but you know, ปากถูกปากต่อปากอะ
It's like a
Yeah,
rumor
that
and not the
เออ
announcement.
so yeah, I wouldn't I would say there is no official update out of it. So even though it will be implemented, but the detail is not given just yet. Mm.
And it has been, would I say, it's like long overdue for the law to come out. I mean, it's been discussed for quite some time, right? Yeah. You are laughing. Okay. If you have any question, you can also ask in the link that I.
Elaborate more at this topic. So I'm not sure if you want to ask about how carbon tax work or kind of sort of.
Well, we can do that, but actually, if you can like briefly talk about it, that would be useful.
So carbon tax is kind of how you uh, okay. So nature of climate or GHG emission is like different industrial sectors would have different emission amount, right? Um, Despite how good they control. It's the nature of the sector.
Mm-hmm.
For example, banking, scope 1 or 2 would be very low, but their scope 3, especially financing, would be like huge portion, right? or oil and gas in the other way, their scope 1 would be like huge.
Mhm.
The manufacturing, maybe the scope 2 would be the huge part. So each sector might be assigned some level of the threshold, or and when you emit exceeding the threshold, you have to pay some tax out of it, and it might be calculated by I don't know the tax scheme, but yeah, this is how it should be working. And for marketing, is quite it's quite relevant to the taxing, because marketing the same, you have the threshold, but whatever you have exceeded, you can offset it by buying some credits from other parties that are selling it. So you have to pay anyway, either tax or offset. So yeah, Paul,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah.
sufficient, or
I think
yeah,
that's sufficient.
it's a rough idea of
It's
how
okay.
taxing.
Yeah. Actually, we do have a subject called economics of climate change
Mm.
at our faculty as well. Some of them I think already took the course, so I think maybe they
So correct
already.
me if I'm wrong.
I think the main idea is actually on point. So yeah, the reason that I invited Kun Aruni, because many of you are like seems to be interested in like private sector, and the future career. If you have any question, you can raise your hand and ask in the class, or you can ask through the link or the chat นะครับ and anyhow you like. We have about 3 minutes, so maybe like one question should cover the time. Or if there's no question, I
I
would
have one
say,
message.
yeah, pardon,
I have one message to all the economists to be, if
please.
you're, I understand that the economists may not be familiar with what other two dimensions of the sustainability that are thinking, their perspective. So it would be great um, if you can understand, or at least see from their perspective how socialists would think, how environmentalists would think. So it would be, because E and S would be, they would have a different logic against economics part. So I would say, if you can cover that perspective, it would be a beneficial for you
Mm,
yourself. Yeah. And I want to emphasize too that when we try to get rid of a problem, when we try to solve a problem, we E and S in general would try to minimize the unintentional consequences. For example, we try to manage paper bag with plastics
mhm,
to be reusable, and then we have plastic pollution, and then we try to use other kind of plastics, for example, PVC or spunbond or cotton bag. But again, we may create another problem out of it. So I think we have to try to um, solve each problem without creating another later. Mm.
okay, that
And
yeah,
and
please.
the other point for social, I'm not sure how economists are thinking at lately. I understand that human is a kind of resource for you.
Mm-hmm.
So for social side, human is human. So it cannot be always treated as resources. So they
Okay,
have impacts on changes, the culture, the health, the mental. So I think to be considered. Yeah.
okay. So I think we learned quite a lot today นะครับ from Kun Aruni experience นะ especially the part about the work in the sustainability consultant. I think we see the overview of the sector, the service about the overview reporting, disclosure, rating, materiality assessment, strategy development, and the transition service, which is very interesting. And it seems like the students from economic faculty may have some important skills that can also join the team, but you probably need some diverse perspective about society and environment. And the more we work with human, I think perhaps we need to also embrace other sides of humanity, not only the side of human resources, but also other side of humanity. And it seems like the future is still going towards sustainability. It's going to be the new norms, even though Thailand is not so active, but we are forced by regulations and international supply chain. So it's going to be with us for a while. I guess maybe what we learned in class and what we get from this session can be beneficial for you in the next at least 5 years, I would say. So thank you very much นะครับ for your insights นะครับคุณอรณี and I hope to have you in our class again in the future. But I will promise you that maybe we also invite some other diverse participants, so we have more dynamic interactions นะครับ and I will also ask the student to provide some questions more. I really hope it can be active, but I understand because we are close to final exam, so yeah. Yes, somebody is talking. Yes ธนบดีครับ are you open your mic? Do you want to say something? No. Okay. So thank you very much, Kun Aruni, for joining us นะครับ and let me end the class now. If you have a question about final exam, you can email me or you can comment in the last post that I post in our classroom เนาะ so we can clear up with some other announcement นะครับ so thank you again and hope you have a nice day, and for the student hope you have a nice day, and good luck with your final exam as well. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค
ข
รั
อบคุณ
บ
ค่ะ